Thank you guys for joining us. I love the welcome. I love the opening. Everybody doing all right today? Everybody all right? All right, yeah. We're going to have a good time. I am Stephen. This is Contemporary Speaks. We have a couple of things we're going to be talking about. Just to let you know that we're a community that is a judgment-free zone, and so we want to invite you to kind of join us and just listen to what we're sharing. We pray that today something is said that really helps you out with your walk in life. And so here's a couple of things that we're going to be discussing today. The first thing, learn a new language. The second thing that we're going to discuss is try to clean up your mind. And then the third thing is program yourself to win. And so we're going to have a phenomenal time. Let's get ready to have a little fun. And here we go.
Get ready for some positive, encouraging, inspiring information. But before we jump into this episode, I'd like to invite you to join this community to hear more episodes that will help you become healthier emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. All I want you to do is click on the subscribe button. We love your support, and it's incredible to see all your comments, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means the world to us.
Good job. All right. We're going to have a good time today, you guys. I'm super excited. Once again, my name is Stephen. I'm glad you're here. If you're joining us online, thank you for joining us online. If you're in-house, thank you for being in-house. We appreciate it. Amen. And so we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a really good time. I want to start with a scripture, and it's Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 through 37. And it's something that I want us to kind of think about a little bit. It says this right here. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give an account for every careless word they speak. It says, for by the words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. I want to start with that, not to make anybody feel, crazy or to feel, judged or anything like that. But I just want to kind of paint this picture to understand how powerful the language is. And so the first thing we're really talking about today is learning a new language. And I tell you, speaking a new language can be difficult. Just look at it in the natural. So if you're trying to learn a new language in the natural and you speak, English or whatever language you're speaking and you're trying to learn another language, it can be very challenging, right? And so this is the thing that I want you to realize, that speaking a new mental language or a new spiritual language or what you actually say of yourself and of other people can be difficult, right? To change that language, right? And so what we have to do is learn a new language. And to learn a new language, you have to be conscious, right? You have to apply your mind, apply your thinking to learn this new language. You have to be focused on that concept, right? And so I want you guys to kind of think about the Bible verse in the book of James where it talks about that there's so many different things that we can tame. We can tame horses and all these different things, but we cannot tame the tongue. And so this is the thing that I would say is one of the biggest challenges of man is how you speak to yourself, self-talk, right? Changing your language is learning to speak to yourself in a different tone, with a different attitude, just learning to speak to yourself in a better way, to be more encouraging to yourself, to speak more highly of yourself, right? Here's the thing, and I look at when I say speak more highly of yourself, I think that a lot of times we kind of like when we drop something, oh, you idiot. Like, we say these kind of things, or when we, spill something, we're like, oh, look at, can't do nothing right. And it's this language that we're constantly saying that reaffirms our self-image. And so until we learn to speak another language about who we are and what we understand, we won't be able to move forward. And let me say this, I'll say it this way too, is that when we talk about a new language, the first thing that I'll talk about is that when you are listening to someone speak, and just say this podcast or something like that, you're listening to me speak, there'll be something that your conscious will pick up, and then there are things that your conscious will never even detect. And so if you would listen to this podcast again, you will pick up things that you have not heard the first time. That means you'll able to receive more. Because what the mind does is the mind is learning. And when the mind has learned something, the mind will take that box, check that box. But then the mind will start to listen for what it has not learned. It'll start to try to listen to what has not been said. What have I missed? And so the more that you're able to hear something, the more you're able to learn and to grow. But here's another thing, but with that concept as well, is that every time you hear something, it also affirms it in you. So even if you're hearing positive affirmation that you are wonderful, you are fearfully made, and you are, made in the image of God and things like that, as long as you continue to put your ear and open your ear and expose your ear to that, it will affirm your belief. It will affirm within your being as true. Now, and as I say that, this is the thing that I want you to understand, because it works both ways. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. If you continue to hear negative talk, it will affirm you as well. And so if you hear that you're nothing, you're lazy, you're pathetic, you don't listen, and if you continue to hear that type of talk, it is also affirming as well truth within you. So that's why it's important to change your language. Change your language. Change how you speak, and change how you speak to yourself. That's first. You won't change how you speak to others until you start speaking to yourself different. Are you with me? So this is something that we look at. Learn to speak a new language, right? And here's something as well, is that before you can do something, you must first be it. Before you can do something, you must first be it. Before you can change your environment or change your circumstances or begin to bring about positive outcomes in the environment, you have to be it. You have to represent that. Here's the key that I'll say, and this is going to be a theme a little bit through this podcast today, is that consistency is going to be your key. And so here's what I want you to understand. Expect consistency and complacency to wage a major world war within you. And listen to what I'm saying. Consistency is going to be your biggest companion in life. A lot of times it's not that we don't begin good things or start new things. The thing is that we fall off. We're just not consistent. If you can become a person of being consistent, like I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other. I'm just going to stay consistent. I started this thing. I'm just not going to stop. If you can be consistent, you will eventually see the victory. And I think that most people do quit right before the breakthrough, right? They quit right before the victory. Complacency is fighting for you to stay where you are at. But consistency is fighting for you to move forward. And so you have to understand that, right? Complacency is like, let's just stay where we're at. We don't feel like working out today. We don't have to work out today. We've been working out more than we've ever worked out. So why do we need to work out today? And what I'm telling you, if you're going to create these new neurological pathways, if you're going to get on another road in life, just a road to betterment, you are going to have to be someone that is determined just to be consistent. Be consistent when you're crying. Be consistent when it hurts. Be consistent when you're not in the mood. Be consistent when you're in the mood. You see what I'm saying? Just because you're in the mood, that doesn't mean, oh, I really feel like doing it, but you don't do it. So still be consistent. Consistency is your ally. It is your ally. And it is major to your life. And it's the only thing that's tripping you up. And the only reason why you are thinking things but never bringing your life to the place where you want it to be at is because you lack consistency. So even with this language, you can't speak newly to yourself for a day and then go back to speaking the way you used to. You can't do it for 3 days. Like for 3 days, I'm just talking positive to myself. Like, hey, you can do it. Don't doubt yourself. Let's see what you're made of. Let's go on this adventure. Let's go ahead and challenge ourselves and move forward. And speak to yourself in a very motivating way. But at the same time, you can't default back. You must stay consistent. The thing that I need you to understand is that with consistency, we know that there's those days that we just can't, or we believe we can't. And when I say we can't, it's just that we're laying there, and it says 4 a.m., but we're like, I'm super tired. I can't do it. I can't do 4 a.m. today. Well, that's the language you need to change. It's 4 a.m., I could do this. That's the language you need to adopt. That's the new language you got to put in place. It's 4 a.m. It's time for me to wake up. I'm tired, but everyone's tired when they first wake up. So this is normal. Let me push myself. I can make it. I can do it. So that self-talk, that new language has to be established. And you have to start to begin to talk to yourself in a way that you can say, come on, let's get up and do it. Come on, let's push ourselves forward. Let's move forward. Now, you have to hold this paradox as well. The paradox is that if you feel like I wanted to get up at 4 o'clock. I dozed off. I got up at 4:30, or I got up at 5 o'clock. You have to hold this paradox. The whole time that you want to be consistent and move forward with your life, you must hold this paradox. This paradox must be that, yes, I missed the mark, but guess what? I can actually hit the mark. So there must be this paradox of, yes, I did. That means I acknowledge my shortcomings. I acknowledge what I didn't do right. But I realize that's not who I am. That I actually can hit the mark. That I actually can move forward. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to believe that you can actually hit the mark. Here's the thing we'll talk about as well. Cleaning up your mind actually begins with cleaning up your home. And I want to get into this really quick because this is something that's been I was studying this week and I was like, wow, I started to look around my own home and I was like, what can I make better? When you think about someone who might be a hoarder, typically there's something that's serious that's kind of going on. They say that typically people who are hoarders are either older people or they actually are neurologically damaged, or they have OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. What you have to realize is that the state of the home reflects the state of the psyche of the human, of the person. Okay, because the home is an extension of who you are. And so you have to realize that if you want to clean up your mind, start by organizing your home, okay? Because if you just sat here and closed your eyes and meditated on your home right now, and you walked in your front door and you looked at your living room and you just looked at all that, what would you see? And then, is that aesthetically pleasing? Is it something that's motivating? What is that? What is the home environment? What does the house say about your psyche, right? So think about those things. So I'll talk about 2 ways to really start with that. And the first one is that most people view cleaning as organizing their objective world, right? When cleaning their home is really organizing their field of experience. So start here. Go to one room in your house, right? And ask yourself, if I was to spend 20 minutes making this room better, what would I change? And then the second thing that I would say is start with the areas that you spend the most time in. So that means that you might say, my garage, a lot of people have a lot of stuff in their garage. Oh, my garage is just a mess. But what are the places you occupy? So what are the places like the bathroom? You go into the bathroom, you have to brush your teeth every day. You go into the living room, you go into the kitchen. So it's the places that you know that you live at every single day. How are those spaces? How are they organized? Are they clean? You hear what I'm saying? So start with the spaces that you spend most of your day in. And this should make it simple for you. And it'll shock you if you actually clean up your house and you wake up and you see it and you see it clean. It'll shock you. It's done me like that, right? Like, my room was a mess and we clean it up. I go to bed, wake up the next morning. I'm expecting to still see the mess, but it's clean. And then just the presence of the room brightens my day. The fact that something was accomplished and something was made better in the home makes me feel better. So think about that. So here's another thing. Programming yourself to win. It really starts with creating a schedule. I'll be honest with you, I don't like schedules. I like schedules in theory. I just don't like to live by a schedule because I feel that if I live by a schedule, I feel like the schedule is telling me what to do rather than me telling me what to do. And therein lies the problem. The problem is that in order for my pathways and in order for my mind to change, I can't rely upon what I'm always used to and what I've always done. So I need to create some type of schedule that is better for my life. And so when you schedule yourself, you're starting to set your 24-hour clock. And I'm telling you that being consistent is going to be what's going to be calling you daily. Be consistent. Be consistent. And what is going to be fighting you is complacency. That means that you're going to want to give yourself a break from consistency. And that is probably the best way you can derail any kind of mental progress that's going on. And you never get a day where you don't have to police your thoughts. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to ever have a day where you're not thinking about what you're thinking about. You don't ever want to, that sounds like 7 days of work. Exactly. Mentally, you do need to always be present 7 days of the week. Okay? And so this is very important that you understand this, right? And here's the thing. Once you give your mind an aim, a goal, your mind then begins to assess how can we bring that into place? How can we bring that into balance? So if I went and I sat down in my room and I asked the question, well, what can be made better? My brain, that's an aim. My brain will then begin to say, look, this can be better. This can be better. This can be better. This can be better. And once you get started, you might find another thing and another thing and another thing. But your brain will assist you, but you have to give it a name. And if you don't aim your brain or your mind at something, there's no assistance needed. There's nothing, you're not going to reschedule your life or reprogram your life, or you're not going to change anything about your life because you've given your life no aim. And so you do want to aim your life at something. And note this right here. You're going to have to carve out some time for your schedule. Okay? You're going to have to carve out some time for your schedule. So when you carve out this time for your schedule, that means you also have to carve other things out of your life. So a lot of times people are trying to fit things into their life without cutting other things out of the life. So you have to say, okay, this is important. This is not important. This is, why am I doing this? You understand what I'm saying? And anything that takes you off of a schedule that is good for your life is really the enemy, right? Because it's taking you away from the schedule that is helping you be mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, physically healthy, and all these things. So you don't want those kind of things. You don't want to really make time that pulls you off of your schedule. Now, this is the thing that you have to realize about your schedule, that you also can schedule social time in there as well. You can say between these hours and these hours, I'm going to check on people, I'm going to call people, I'm going to text people, so you can schedule those kind of things as well into your calendar. But a schedule is very important. And here's the other thing I will encourage you about that. Tiny steps, taking tiny steps. And we've all heard about the butterfly effect, right? That the butterfly on one coast flapping its wings affects the weather on the other coast, right? Tiny steps eventually lead to great distance. And so what you have to figure out is, what is the 1 degree of change that I can make in my life? So tiny steps, look to make tiny steps. A lot of times we want to make huge steps. We want to just leap and jump and you know what I mean? Here's what I would say. Whatever you do is fine, but here's what I would say. Before I join a gym, I would see if I could be consistent watching YouTube, you know what I mean, and doing a workout there. You see what I'm saying? Take tiny steps. Give yourself, I'm not saying don't join a gym. If you join a gym, more power to you, do that. That's good. Go ahead and commit to that and be consistent in that. But a lot of times, tiny steps. Don't look to make these great big. Sometimes it's like, I'm not going to clean the whole kitchen up. But what I am going to do is I'm going to wash this coffee cup that I just drank out of. I'm going to wash that up and I'm going to put it back on the counter. 1 degree change. 1 degree change. Look to make tiny little steps and make them daily. Make them daily. 1 degree of change, right? So everything that is happening outside of you is also happening inside of you. And so everything that is happening in your external world is also happening inside of you. And so this is why speaking to yourself in a better way is so important and things like that. So I want to talk about 3 quick points really quick. And the 3 takeaways, the first one is stick to a new routine for at least 6 to 13 weeks. Stick to any new routine for at least 6 to 13 weeks. So that means that if you're trying to change neurological pathways, get into a routine and stick to that routine. That means that that routine is not a choice. Don't make it a choice. That means that, no, this must be done. Let it be the law of God over your life. When you design a routine and you sit down with God and pray about the routine that you should have in your daily life, make that the law of God and say for at least 6 weeks, whatever you commit to, anywhere from 6 to 13 weeks is what I would say, and it's based on what you feel you need to stick to. If you want to go to 13 weeks, do that. But after those 6 to 13 weeks, you're going to be able to actually see true change in you. Okay? Another thing is, I'll say this, is read a chapter of Proverbs a day. So every day that you read, so today, you know, if it's February the 2nd, you can read Proverbs chapter 2. There's 31 Proverbs. And so based on the calendar days, whatever day you're in, just read that entire chapter. But when you read it, take a perspective of, I am the wise person and not the fool. So don't read it as literature, as it's saying a matter of fact, this is the wise person, this is the fool. But read it in this way as to say that when I'm reading this is telling me how I am to respond because I am wise. And then this is also telling me how I am not to respond because I am not a fool. So when you read it, make it very personable and realize that the book of Proverbs is actually given to you so that those who are foolish can be wise. So that's the purpose of it. So view yourself in your self-talk that I am wise. And that's why I'm reading the book of Proverbs, because I'm also shaping and programming my mind to win when I do that. And the last thing, and the most important thing, is to start a revolution, right? Start a revolution in your mind, right? Revolutionize your thinking. Listen to what I'm saying. Revolutionize your thinking. Be the first one that protests any injustice that is in your mind. Injustice is the things that are downing you, talking against your brothers and sisters, being an accuser of the brethren. Like, don't harbor anything within you. Rise up and start a revolution in your mind and get busy with picketing and protesting anything that is not right within you. All right? And that's really all we got. Let's have a good time.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching and being a part of this community. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. You're going to get weekly videos on building a growth mindset, cultivating grit, and unlocking your full potential.